Hi, this is Alan Tatro with Global Sugar Art, and today I'd like to show you how to make a buttercream rose. This seems to be one of the flowers that eludes most beginning decorators. They find it very hard to get the rose to look lifelike and to be tall enough. The trick is getting it tall enough. So I want to show you a couple of my tricks that I use to teach beginners how to make buttercream roses. Cell Cakes makes these little styrofoam buds that we use to make gum paste roses. This is the center of the gum paste rose, and they come in different sizes. And I have learned that if I can put one of these on a stick or glue a wire into it for practice, I just used a simple little bamboo skewer and stuck it into the bottom of this. This will help you learn how to make a rose. The tips that you use to make a rose all look basically the same. They're wider at one end and thin at the top. Of course, this would make like a very, very large rose. You will rarely use a tip like this. The most common are 101, 102, 103, and 104. And then they have a 101S, which makes a very, very tiny rose. I often do those on the end of a flat top toothpick. 104 is the most common rose tip that you will use, 103 and 104. And that's what I'm going to work with today to teach you how to make the rose. So we'll put these rose tips aside, and we'll talk about the rose nails in a minute. First, we're going to start with the bud. So I've taken a pastry bag. You get a paper towel. And I've inserted the tip, and I've put in some nice bright pink icing so that you can see what I'm doing. And I'm going to pretend this is the center of my rose, that I've already made the center. To begin with, I'm going to start at the top with the wide part of the tip down and the narrow up. And I'm going to angle it in just a little bit so that I make a closed loop at the top. And I'm just going to come down a little bit. You can just see the little hole at the top. That's the center of my rose. Then I'm going to make 3 petals. Now, if you look at the Wilton video or other teachers, they will have you come from the back of the rose, come down, up, and back down. I taught myself years ago, and I prefer to have it in front of me where I can see where I'm moving the pastry bag. It's all whatever you're used to and what you find easiest. So I'm going to do this with the bud behind the tip. So I'm going to start down, I'm going to come up, and then back down. And then right behind that first one, I'm going to make a second leaf or petal, and then a third. And that's the center of my tip, of my rose. I'm thinking of cleaning off the tip here at the same time. You do want to keep the end of the pastry bag clean. Now I'm going to make 5 petals just below this one. So I'm going to do 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there is a small rose. Now if I want to add a third layer, I can. I can add 7 more on the bottom and make this more of a full-blown rose. And again, I'm doing an up and down motion so that you don't see the beginning and the end of each petal. Now, by doing this on the bud, you've already taken care that you have a solid center that's going to be tall enough so that you get a full-blown rose. Most people make the center of their roses out of buttercream too short, and then they have a flat-looking rose that looks kind of lifeless. So that's how you can practice learning how to make a rose, is by using a cell bud or some sort of a styrofoam bud in the center. I'm just going to set that down. Okay, to make a rose completely out of buttercream so that you can transfer it to a cake, you'll use a flower nail. Now obviously this is a very large nail that you would use for a very, very large tip, probably something like this. Most common, you're going to use a number 7 or a number 9 flower nail, and this is a number 7. So the buttercream is the next key to having a good rose. It has to be very, very firm and stiff. Most buttercreams that are made to ice a cake and get a beautiful smooth finish are not going to be firm enough to do a rose. So you may have to add some confectioner's sugar until you have a nice firm icing. So I'm going to start by making a little cone right in the center, very similar to what I did by using the styrofoam cone. Now again, holding the rose tip with the wide part down, I'm just going to go around the outside edge and sort of build up the outside of this. So now I have a nice firm center. Again, on the top, I'm going to make the center of the rose. And I'm just going to go just in a circle and then bring that down. And that gives me the very center of my rose. And now I'll do 3 petals around that. So 1, 2, and then 3. Again, keep the end of your tip clean. And now I'll do the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there is a rose that you could use on almost any cake. But I will add one more layer so that you can see how you can get the full-blown rose. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and 7. And there you have the full-blown rose. Now, to move this rose to a cake, you'll need a small pair of craft scissors. It's very easy to do. Open the scissors, put them under the rose, and lift it up. Don't squeeze the scissors closed yet. If this were the top of your cake, you would lay the rose exactly where you want it. Sometimes if I'm putting them on a cake and I want them to be angled to one side or the other, I may put a little dollop of icing on the cake first and then just set the rose on it, squeeze the scissors together, and gently pull it away. And that's how you successfully transfer the rose from the nail to the cake. I'll do one more for you. Clean all the parts here. Okay, so again, I'm going to make the center. I'm going to let that pressure build up, make a nice wide center. And for a 104 tip, I'm getting that at least an inch high. I like going around the outside edge, 2 layers high. And that way I get a nice solid and a large base to build on. Now I'll make the center. Again, the large part of the tip is down. So I just did that little curl and then I brought it down. And now I'll do the 3 petals. 1, 2, and 3. And now I'll do the 5. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. And there is, it's like a 2/3 rose, I guess. And now we'll do the full thing. And there is the full rose. Again, if I want to move this, open your scissors, put it right under the rose and lift off. And then you can put it wherever you want it. Squeeze the scissors together and just gently pull away. That's the easy part of making a rose, is transferring it. If you really have trouble getting that height and getting the rose to look proper the first time, do try and use some sort of a bud. Now, one of the other tricks that decorators use is they'll actually use a gumdrop, and they'll put it on a little skewer like this, and they'll make the whole rose on the gumdrop, and then just transfer the whole thing to a cake. So that's an alternate way that you can try to make your roses. Good luck with your decorating and making roses. You can find all the supplies at globalsugarart.com, and thanks for watching.